All right, what's up, guys, and welcome to the Score Esports podcast. As per usual, I am your host, Colin McNeil. In the studio with me today, we got Dennis Gonzalez.
Hey, how's it going?
That was your cue to say hello. And behind the
Sometimes
boards,
you don't.
the main man, Josh Burry.
I'm the main man now.
I think so.
Upgrade. What's up? Promotion.
Wheels of steel.
I think so. Without you, we can't really do this.
Am I like I'm the super creep?
Yes.
What's up?
Apt reference, because on the show today, as we sort of teased at the end of the last show, if you guys remember, we've got a really cool guest today from the world of Dota. We've got
Nice. I like that you said Dota.
Dota.
Is Dota.
Yes, it is okay.
We've got
It's an incantation.
we've got Jake Canner. You probably know him better as SirActionSlacks, one of the most visible personalities in that particular esports scene.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to him, and I think we've got Slacks with us already.
He's itching. He's
Yeah.
ready,
He's
ready to
rearing
roll. Let's
to
waste
go.
no time.
Hello.
Slacks.
Oh, it's time. Hello. Thank you. Great introduction. Speaking of super creeps, here's this super creepy guy right here. Thank you, gentlemen.
Hey.
Oh shit.
I wasn't setting that up on purpose.
Sure.
Well, you capitalized on it though. You made it your own. I appreciate it. So
No worries. How y'all doing today? You guys doing good?
yeah, we're
Yep.
great.
We're
Good.
really good now that we got you on the line, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Now, how are you? Because I know you just got back from a trip to Manila just a few days ago.
I certainly did. Yeah, I went from Sweden, spent a week and a half there, and then Manila, and then back home until thankfully November. So I got about 15 days or something to work on stuff, and yeah, feeling rested, feeling good. First day I survived from jet lag, so I'm all right.
I was going to say, how's your sleep schedule doing? That sounds rough. Sweden, Manila, U.S.
It's horrible. I mean, I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning. I sleep at 7 p.m. I'm a real piece of garbage right now. So, we'll get over it. It'll get fixed. No worries, boys.
So one of the quote-unquote serious questions that I did want to ask you, I'll just launch right into. You're pretty closely associated with DreamLeague. And
Yep.
that, if I'm not mistaken, guys, is going to be a major under the new Valve major minor system, which is like really crazy. It means it's a guaranteed, again, Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong here, $1 million prize pool.
Yes.
Thank you to Valve for that,
Yep.
right?
Thank you,
Shout outs
Gabe.
to Valve money.
No, shout out to Gabe and
Thank Mr. Valve.
Mr. Valve.
Mr. Valve. All right.
Now, you being Mr. Dream League, how do you feel about it being a major?
It's pretty interesting, actually. I think that whole system is pretty unique in that in the last, since forever, majors have been this big, like, hush, hush, oh, it's a mini TI, oh, geez, everyone take it very seriously. And then they're going to give it to MemeLeague, which is just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of cool. You know, it's this injection of, like, we want to support the community in these kind of weirder off-brand tournaments and all that. So, I think it's super interesting. We'll see how it turns out. The vibe for it is certainly great for DreamLeague. I've always said the only thing they've been missing is good teams, because teams are typically flakes on that tournament or don't want to come, and then now they have to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
love
much.
it.
Well, you put it actually pretty aptly. Vibe is a good way of describing the Dream League. But like when you're doing like previous seasons of it, and as you said, like it's very meme driven. Was it like your goal of being like, hey, in a year or two, let's make this a major? Like was that ever the intention of making the Meme League a major?
I mean, I think that was always the goal, was to build it up. I mean, DreamLeague has had a pretty rough history, if you guys know that whole deal, where they kind of lost a lot of community respect and all that, and then it was a slow build back up. So, over the last 2 years, I've been pretty dedicated to it so that we could get to this point where it was like a respectable tournament. I think it represents a lot of good stuff in Dota. One reason that I love Dota eSports is because it is doesn't take itself too seriously. You know, we have some fun, and not to take too much credit for that, of course, but it wasn't always that way, and I think that's it resonates really well with kind of the audience that we have. So seeing something like DreamLeague come up and be this thing that can be an official event is awesome. By the way, did you guys know that in the contract, I don't think it ever says that they have to play Dota at the majors?
What the hell?
What?
What are we getting at here?
Well, okay, so it says that you have to invite people from different places. Like, you have to have qualifiers. You have to do all that. I don't ever think it says they have to do Dota. So my next great idea is I'm just going to raise $1 million and then have teams come to clean my house. And I'll reward TI points based on what a great job they do and all that stuff. Think about it.
Don't you think that's a tad expensive for a maid service?
No, because it's the mental abuse that's the whole point, you know? That's what I'm all about. Am I getting too real? I apologize. But in that vein, it's interesting, right? Like, you could do whatever you want and reward people points to go to international and win millions of dollars.
Don't let eternal envy near your chairs.
Yeah.
Right? Don't let them near your
anything.
chairs. Well, near anything, but especially chairs, because you'll just find them all tilted over. And
Yeah. Eternal envy with the chairs. Don't let RTZ near your doors. What else?
Oh,
your shoes.
listen, I was there for that incident, by the way. The Arteezy door attack. Me and my girlfriend were drivers at the summit, and we just heard him like a rhino. He almost flattened the poor girl. She was sitting on the ground, and he ran past us, plowing through a door. It was terrifying. So anyway, sorry.
Holy shit.
I guess also puppy near your headsets.
And monitors.
And monitors, yeah.
Or anything. Your teams. Is this derailing? Is this derailing too much? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll re-rail it. And because Slacks, you alluded to this a few times in the last few minutes, but because it's a major, because there's $1 million attached to it, because maybe in the past, as you said, there's some more a serious connotation to the word major. Is DreamLeague going to change its MemeLeague vibe at all?
I mean, I would hope not. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that's kind of what built it up into that place. And they hired me again, so they're certainly not looking to have a good production high level. So, I don't think so. I think that this is the year of experimentation. A lot of tournament organizers are going in and trying to just be like, hey, we're going to make this really great product. We're going to be the best at regular Dota. And then some of them are thinking, let's do something else and see if we can integrate that and make it a memorable event. And I think it's those guys that try to make their events memorable rather than just make them are the ones that are really going to succeed for the next season. Because I don't think it will be the same as this season next year. I'm pretty sure this is just a experiment to see which companies that Valve is wanting to work with.
Oh, wow. Are you saying you don't think structurally it will be the same after this year?
No, I don't think so. I'm an idiot. Let me preface, but I don't know. With this kind of stuff, Valve is known to be experimental, and they're known to just be like, "Hey, let's dive in head first and collect data and see what people like about things." You saw it this year at TI7 when they didn't hire any of the normal panelists and stuff, and they replaced some with pro players. They decided to do that at their biggest event of the year, with zero, guesses on how it would turn out, but they just jumped through and saw the data. So I think that's going to be this year. I think they're just going to let every single company do their best, give them the sponsorship abilities that they've been asking for, and then the ones that do right, they will probably work with them more for the majors.
Holy shit. Okay, I had honestly not thought about it or considered it in that way. I know Valve is notorious for dropping game-changing bombs before important events, not only in Dota, but in their other products, CSGO as well. But that is an interesting possibility to consider. Do you think that they will reflexively just swing back to a model that's more like what we've seen in the past with like a couple majors and a TI, except they've used this year to determine who gets those things? Or are you thinking it's going to be a system that we haven't even seen yet?
Who knows? I mean, but I do know that I don't think this system is really sustainable. I mean, you talk to, for top tier teams, for tier 1 teams, it's a fantastic system. It's amazing. But you talk to tier 2 teams, it's just suicide. I mean, I was talking to a team the other day about how many tournaments that they've had to play in order to try to make qualifiers for all these different ones. And they said that they had to play upwards to almost 50 to 60 games of Dota in less than a week. I mean, it's just insane because you have all these guys that have to make it to these tournaments and they have to drill in, and it's a lot of pressure. And then now we're going to see are all of these sacrifices, major tournament every 2 weeks. 2 weeks, boys.
Yeah.
Is that going to change the landscape at all? Is it going to make it any better? And I'm guessing no, because it's just, especially with stuff like now, we haven't had the patch in forever. Every single tournament is going to look exactly the same. It's just, this company put it on versus this company put it on. But again, reminding, I am an idiot, so I don't know any of this stuff. So,
this is pretty interesting what you're saying about this whole sort of possibly this year being an experiment, because we've seen two very recent entries into the world of Dota from esports orgs that are not endemic to that esport. I'm talking about Optic and Immortals, and I'm putting myself in their position and thinking like, okay, what the hell? This year seems crazy. Is it a particularly difficult time for them to wet their toes in Dota?
Oh, hell no. This is the gold rush, baby.
Oh,
This is the first time that Valve has ever said, guys, sponsor a minor, sponsor a major. Coca-Cola presents the major. That's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always been the thing, is you're not allowed to make money on the majors. You're allowed it's like that thing that people do to artists on Twitter. Like, oh, do it for the exposure.
Yeah,
the exposure.
The passion.
Right. Now it's like, advertisement at a major. That's amazing. And Valve has always made that their big policy. No on that. So yeah, if there's ever been a time to get into Dota, it's this year, especially since I don't think that this system is going to last past this year. But that's why we have an event every 2 damn weeks. I mean, it's a complete overload.
Yeah.
Now, if this is the time to get into Dota, this ties into something that I actually just wanted to jam in at some point in this podcast anyway, which is like, why isn't eLeague in Dota? Now, I'm talking specifically about eLeague, but I'm also talking about major non-endemic TOs as well. But eLeague is just such a great example, right? Because they came into the scene, they're like, oh, you don't know who we are, we're going to do CSGO. They did it really well by all accounts. And then they sort of went smaller. It's strange. They had success and they downgraded.
Yeah.
They went to Street Fighter. I love Street Fighter. No disrespect to that scene. It's objectively much smaller than CSGO. Injustice, perhaps a step down below that even. We know why they're not in League of Legends, because the publisher controls that sphere and they can't enter it. But why not Dota?
Well, that's a pretty good question. For one, I believe Loda is still in Dota. That's a safety issue with them and Richard Lewis.
Shit.
Like you're kind of memeing, but like I actually think that is like a little bit of a factor. Just
That's just Dennis's feelings, though, right? Like, that's not you're saying that it is.
I too am an idiot. So
Dennis's comments do not necessarily represent those at theScore eSports.
Is this like an I am Spartacus moment where I too am an idiot? Like, I don't know what's up.
No, I have no idea. I mean, I remember that they're experimenting with it. If I remember correctly, I believe that they're doing some sort of documentary, perhaps a Dota pit or something, where they're kind of testing the water. Is that correct?
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember this? They were doing like a mini series documentary on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're going to try it out, but I mean, it's quite obvious because Dota 2 has been quite infamous, and it's just horrible for any kind of sponsor. I mean, you'll put. I won't say who, but I'm talking to a guy that's putting on an event. Like they're big guy for esports for Dota 2, and he's just like, Dota is the worst. You have to raise so much money for the prize pool, and then you don't have unlimited money. Where normally you can spend $200,000 on production, you can't do that in Dota. You have to spend like as much as you can on the prize pool for the players, and then everything else has to be the shit product that you're scraping by to make money with. And, returns on that are also difficult as well. The Dota 2 player base is nefarious for never going to other things, other games, promoting stuff like that. They're very stubborn, and they only want to play Dota, and that's all they care about. But that's what Valve is trying to do this year, I would think, is opening it up to make it Dota is now something that you want to invest in. So maybe eLeague's skeptical. Maybe that's why they don't want to go in,
This is it's nice to hear those comments from you, because some of them, that has been my attitude to Dota, but when it comes from a source of authority, it makes me feel a little bit better about regarding the scene in that way. It also calls to mind a podcast that we had, I don't even think a month ago, with Malk, who is now, Dota Legend, now North's sporting director. That organization, he's been with them since their inception, and they're only in CS:GO right now. And we asked him why they're not in Dota, and because it's the sport he loves, obviously. And he said almost what you said. The scene is very difficult to get into. You can't sign players. Laugh at you when you want to sign them for a year, right? All they want to do is go to TI. So these are the barriers that we're seeing from orgs that want to penetrate this scene. Do you think that this new year, Valve possibly encouraging more people to get into it, this new major minor system could change that?
I do. I feel like that is the whole point of the experiment, is to try to find a way for them to not have to do the hard work. They don't want to figure out how to make the thing better and how to sponsorships put in. They want capitalism. Here you go, boys. We'll give you a bunch of money. All you competing tournament organizers, figure out how to make Dota 2 work with sponsors and fight for it in the dirty pits that you can. And it's incredible. That's Valve's normal standard. We don't want to do it. Community, organizers, everybody, do it for us, and then we'll take the system that works and we'll make it our system. And it's just successful. I mean, it's what they've always done, from workshop to tournament organizing now,
I actually like that idea because I feel like if you were to compare Valve to like other publishers, Riot would be the one genetically engineering the plant. Yeah. And Valve is like, here's a bag of seeds and some dirt. Like, get it done. You know what I'm saying? Like, just make this work. We don't want to, we don't care even what kind of plant grows as long as it's healthy and it's something that you want. I think that's kind of interesting. And they've sort of had different approaches, in my opinion, between CSGO and Dota even. Even though they're both their games, they've shown kind of like they're willing to experiment and whatnot. I actually had a question for you, though, Slacks. One other thing that Melk said, which I thought was really interesting, was that with so many majors on the books and even minors and there's so much Dota, there's all these tournament organizers, and a lot of them are going to get a one shot or maybe a couple shots in some cases. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he was sort of I think Melk's opinion was sort of that this was, in a way, this was kind of almost a proving ground. There was this opportunity for people to really show what they could do, but you really don't get that many opportunities because there's so many TOs that are doing this, right? That have a shot during this circuit. Do you think that is ultimately what will happen after the circuit, that they'll find the few TOs they want to work with in the future, and that's why the system won't continue? Or is it just too much Dota, period?
No, I think that you hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, when you look back at the original major system that they had, they outsourced the majors to, at first, ESL, then PGL. And the Frankfurt major, sorry, everyone, but sorry, Dota fans, but I thought it was it was one of the most forgettable majors out there because it was the first one. And, all the different problems from that. ESL is great. They do fantastic products, but it was the learning curve. But you found out that PGL put on the Manila major, which was fantastic, and then from then on, they had all the other ones. Yeah, this is just a much easier, more competitive system. Why limit yourself to do two different studios when you could literally just throw the seeds out in the field and say, all right, whoever wants to grow, let's see what you got. Yeah, and that's really, the goal. And it's brilliant. I mean, completely unbiased source. But that's why Dota 2 is so much better than League of Legends. It's because it is grown based on competition and innovation rather than a totalitarian authority telling everyone what they have to do. They grow the scene rather than shackle the scene. So anyway, no offense to my boys over at the lesser games.
No offense, but fuck you.
No. It's fine. Their personalities can't say anything about this anyway. They're not allowed to. I mean,
it's not untrue.
No.
Exactly. It's not false.
Wow.
I mean, let's be real. League of Legends can't deny any of it.
They physically can't. They're barred from. They're contractually obligated not to.
They're not to acknowledge the presence of other MOBAs in the world.
Exactly.
Well, that's why I always love when there's a big League of Legends news day. There was a report from ESPN that Immortals didn't get into the NALCS, so everybody on my League of Legends feed is talking about that, except the Riot casters. They're all like, hey, did you see this cool video, Riot Games?
Did I ever tell you what a great game we had?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why Valve can be successful. It's because they encourage criticism and they encourage people to speak freely about stuff, because that's how you find problems and that's how you make a better product. And this system is becoming a better product. So full faith in Valve. People have been, recently especially, they've been kind of critical of them, but I really think that it's the greatest system to make the best product, and that's what I'm all about.
Yeah. People say a lot about Valve and their kind of laissez-faire methods, but at the end of the day, like, how much money is Valve putting into the minor system? Like, they're doubling down on everything that's being put into the minors and majors. How many millions of dollars are they just literally pumping into the scene?
Yeah,
Like, insane.
but it's an investment, right? I mean, Valve is very bottom line oriented these days. So it's sure a few million here, a few million there, but I mean, look at TI. They put 25% or something of the total donated things into the prize pool, and it was something like almost 25 million. They made. I'm not good at math. They made a lot more than that just by existing. So I mean, to me, it's just I don't think money is a big deal to them at all. They'll just throw it around anywhere. But they're interested in those returns. Valve money, real Valve money, is money that they don't have to do anything for. That's when you know that you're super rich. Shit like Steam is there making you billions of dollars. That's what they want from esports. It's just to be there making them money, and they don't have to do anything with it. So yeah. Anyway,
I want to continue along this comparison thread that we've jokingly
Yeah, it's an
started
analogy.
a little bit.
It's a full-blown analogy.
Well, I like the one-to-one comparison between Valve Dota and Riot League. I like that a lot, because you're right, they're binary opposites in some ways. And I wonder, Slacks, like, all jokes aside, are there some tenets of the Riot approach that Dota could use? For example, Riot is so clearly just doing everything it can to stabilize and crystallize, to make their structures concrete, to sign people to long-term contracts, make sure orgs are in it for the long run, that they have 5-year plans and all that kind of stuff. And then we're hearing from everyone in Dota, like, I can't sign a player for a year. Players won't do interviews.
I like that you said 5-year plan, because it kind of goes along with the idea of like central planning socialist government versus like capitalism, the Dota capitalism.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, capitalism did win the Cold War, guys. Like, I don't, anyway, so that actually was a question for Slacks.
I don't want to presuppose any conclusions based on world economics.
I'm not saying that I'm not declaring a victor in this case.
No.
I'm just saying socialism lost the Cold War.
All I want to know.
Okay.
All I want to know from Slacks is,
Yeah.
are there a couple pieces of socialism that we could take and use, like we do in
my
Canada,
God.
Social democracy.
where we have free healthcare?
Yeah, see, there you go. Honestly, all jokes aside, Riot does a lot of things really, really well. For one, communication and clear guidelines. That is fantastic for anybody, and it's one of the biggest problems that we have in Dota. If you guys know that recent blog post about broadcasting rights and stuff like that, we've never known, and no one's ever known since the beginning of Dota. There's like the everyone play nice mandate, which is just can lead to problems down the road. Riot is extremely good at saying, hey, this is exactly what our guidelines are. Break these rules and you're in trouble. Not only for their big sponsors, but also for their community. That's one thing that they're really great at, is communication, hard guidelines, and a known structure. Whereas Valve is more liquid and fluid and wants people to do whatever they want to do to make a better product, and also to make them a lot of money without having to do any work. But structure and communication are the big problems, but it's this gray area that they love playing with, and I think that gray area is what makes everybody so dedicated to Dota, like fanatically, both in player base and like kind of the people that are in Dota that like it as an organizer and stuff. They love that shit. I mean, they play it, they're super into it. So yeah, that would be it. I don't know. Maybe Riot can look at that system and steal ideas that we have, much like they stole our heroes. So
Nice. I love it.
Sorry.
Hey, it's full circle, right? Because obviously Dota 2 doesn't stand for Defense of the Ancients 2. It definitely doesn't
It is,
for sure
it
not.
is legally distinct.
It does
from,
not.
All right, the lore is different too. Let's not. Okay.
Different kings than
That's
before.
Hey, this is a weird segue. Speaking of games that have no relation to one another, I know you're a TF2 guy. Do you ever want to do Overwatch? Do you ever want to cast?
Did you see Slacks' reaction? Like, you mentioned Overwatch, his arms fly into the air, and then you pull the rug underneath from his legs, and you mentioned Overwatch. It's like, oh god, you just like stabbed him in the heart. Holy crap! Slacks, please talk about TF2 for a second before you're asked about Overwatch. Please go.
My bad.
Golly, I would sure love to join Overwatch, but I don't have $30 million. So,
Holy shit.
I just have a lot of skills. I don't have any money. I love Team Fortress 2. It's where I came from. It's the 10 and 3. That was like my big intro to PC gaming. The 10th anniversary of the Orange Box is my 10th anniversary of owning a computer. It was like what started it all.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Team Fortress 2 means a lot to me, and it taught me a lot of lessons about kind of like games and the game industry and where people can go right and wrong. So, yeah, they always use TF2 as their big experiment, and they would just throw things into it, like the Manconomy update, the free-to-play update, all of these things built from that strong foundation of TF2. So it is an amazing game. It holds a huge place in my heart, and I can't believe they updated that shit. Oh, God, I gotta get back into it. But Overwatch is, I'll be real with you. This is a real shitty career move that I'm doing right here, but I just don't think it's gonna be successful because of my my level to gauge a good esport. A good esport needs to be absolutely miserable to play.
Holy shit.
It's true, because as a viewer, you watch Dota 2 and you watch these guys and you know that stress, you know that pain, you know that draggingness that brings down on you. And you might love the game, but you don't necessarily want to play it. It's actually just as enjoyable to watch someone else suffer. Same with Strike, same with StarCraft, same with any big successful esport is super hard game that's super stressful. When I watch competitive Overwatch, I'm thinking, why would I watch these idiots play this? I want to go play this. It's too fun. That's the problem with Overwatch, and that's why I don't think that it'll be a successful esport, no matter how much money that they want to artificially inject into it, because it's too fun. People have a great time playing it, which means it sucks as a viewer sport. I'm completely insane, but I name one esport, boys, that is play that is successful. One of them.
Holy cow. Okay.
That's actually kind of.
League is like as close as it gets to being a decent esport. But fighting games, Smash, all those super stressful situations that you don't want to be in, but you like watching in those, One game, boys. Give it to me.
I do like playing Counter-Strike, but I do also want to jump off the building sometimes in certain games.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. That's a great question. I actually don't have a good answer for
Josh,
it.
I want you to bring up the meme of the guy like pointing to his head, like the thinking.
That's so old.
Yeah, I know, but we're all old. So I want you to bring that up because I feel like Slacks just really flipped the script on like how you think about it. I've never thought about it that way because what do we always say in the office when we talk about Overwatch? We're like, but it's so fun. There's like a billion people who play it. Why is it not, doing better? Why is it not successful? Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I have to identify myself as the number one water carrier of Overwatch in this office. So, yeah, but I do get it. I actually think that's a great point, Slacks, because there's a lot of times where I feel that way about a lot of games, including the previous game that I used to write a lot about, which is Heroes of the Storm. I would watch it and I'd be like, man, I just want to play this game. And it was accessible. Like, you could get in and play. Like, that game's pretty short for MOBA. It's like 20, 25 minutes. 25 is like pretty long. And so it is possible to just get in. And there was even an issue where like people would be like, the breaks between the games are longer than the games. Like, I can play a game during the break. It's too much. It's too much. Like, it needs to be faster. And when I see high-level Dota, when I see high-level League of Legends, StarCraft especially, because I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
You're like, I couldn't do this, and I can see what this person is suffering through. And I actually do agree with you. I've never thought of that, though. That's a crazy viewpoint, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't know. I'm not going to agree that's going to tank Overwatch, though. I refuse to go that far. Again, everybody knows that I'm like the Overwatch enthusiast, so but yeah.
Didn't mean to offend.
No offense.
I was very much into Overwatch when it came out, but that was just because Valve kind of dropped the ball on Team Fortress 2, and that was my go-to game. And seeing that integration of building on that inherent base of TF2 and making fundamentally a better product. TF2 is a great game, but Overwatch is so much more 2017. You know, I mean, you feel like a hero every time you play it. You're building these ultimates. It's like so much more engaging. So. Yeah, but I mean, that's my personal theory. The biggest question I have now is PUBG. Is that going to be something that could be an esport? It's fun to play, but then at the same time, you do have those moments of extreme stress and situations that you would never want to be in. So, yeah, it's super interesting. But I'm interested in that sport a lot. Not as much as Artifact, though. Fuck everything else.
Oh my fucking god.
Okay, wait. Before we go on to Artifact, I do want to talk about PUBG because I think this is a really interesting topic, and it's something that a lot of us have been talking about in the office. So I'm going to be super controversial here, and I'm going to say I actually enjoy watching PUBG more than playing it. And here's my justification. Yes, the viewing experience is not great in PUBG at the moment. They're working on it. It's going to take time for sure. But for me, PUBG is like... It's almost like sometimes you spend like 30 minutes collecting stuff and you die in 6 seconds. Yeah. And the 6-second dying part is kind of exciting until you die. And then you're like, damn it, I just spent 30 minutes doing nothing.
Right. And misery, dude. That's why it's going to be an esport. It's because of that horrible misery. You're onto it.
Well, if your theory is true, I think that my viewpoint will be I love this game as an esport. And when we were watching it was at
Invitational,
DreamHack, right?
Yeah. Or Gamescom?
It was Gamescom.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah. We were watching it, and everybody was really chill at the beginning of the game. It was on all the TVs. And as soon as it got to like the last 20 people, everybody was like glued to it because people were dying in horrible ways. Yeah. People pinned down by themselves. And it was honestly awesome to watch, like the last 10 minutes. So,
yeah, it's super good. But I'm a little worried about PUBG. I feel like it could potentially be one of those that it rose too quick kind of scenarios. I can't think of a video game that got so popular so fast. And then how do you keep up with that hype? You know, a lot of games have to have that build period so it's crazy. It's such a fascinating game, and I can't wait to see what happens to it.
Well, you know, Slacks, the candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long. Sorry, Blade Runner quotes. No one's getting it. Okay.
No, I got it.
Okay, good.
It's these other places.
And you have burned so very, very brightly, PUBG.
I too am an idiot.
I guess I feel like I've joined that club now.
I was signaling to you that maybe it was time. But
PUBG's just like to Valve, like, to player unknown, I want more life, father.
Okay.
You got it.
That's pretty
you gotta
good.
cut me off right
It's
now.
done. You're done.
All I'm going to do
You're cut off. You're cut off Blade Runner references.
Commerce is our goal here at Valve. More human than human is our motto.
Okay. You're actually cut off now, though.
Okay.
You see this?
Yep. Okay.
Cut.
Okay.
You're cut off.
What if I ask Slacks a real question?
Please do that.
I have a few more left.
I would love if you would do that.
Okay. Circling back, when we were talking about new entrants into the world of Dota this year, I was wondering, okay, if you had Noah Winston of Immortals, Hector Rodriguez of Optic in a room, and they asked you for advice about getting into this esport and being successful in it, what would you tell them?
Whew. You know, I have a real world story about this. That is, was contacted by a guy. He said that he recently came into a very large fortune from his parents and they sold their company. He's like, I want to buy an esports team. And I want to do it because I have a love for esports. And I just said, quite simply, run for your life, dude. Don't do it.
Wow.
Dude. Don't.
Wow.
If you want to get into esports because you want to make money, with a Dota team, it's just not possible. They will take everything from you. They will take thousands upon thousands of dollars. They will drain you dry, and then when Secret says, "Hey, do you want to join?" they will see you later. And that's one of the Dota's biggest problems, and that is kind of this thing because again, nothing matters but TI. Literally nothing matters. Look at Team OG wins every single major of the last year, almost millions of dollars. Not even close to the top earners for the year because of TI. Nothing else matters. And can you blame the players for that? No. I mean, if you're 18 years old and you have a chance to walk away with $8 million, of course, screw everybody. This is life. That's your chance. So to the guys in the Optic and all that, no. But that was before the new system was revealed. Now, yes. Now it's time to be like, okay, let's invest in Dota. Let's invest in teams because they have ways to now finally make actual generated money by actually having sponsorships injected into the scene, by actually being able to see returns. So if you're just starting out, you have a lot of risk, don't do it. But if you're Optic or Immortals who have already had this great game plan, who have already succeeded very much, do it. The boys at Planet Odd, rest in peace. Never heard of you before, won't hear of you again. Gone. 2-week sponsorship.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how much that they sunk into that? Who knows? Poof, gone. So yeah, I don't know. I pray the new system works. That's it. I mean, and I think that if there's anyone in this world that can make the new system work in Dota in a structured and intelligent way, it are probably those two teams. Especially with those rabid fan bases that we saw from Optic. And never in my days have I seen a fan base besides Na'Vi who have cared so much about teams than the Optic boys. So pretty crazy stuff. Am I rambling? I apologize.
No,
No, not at all.
Very topical, actually.
Yeah.
We just put out a piece about talking about how they become, or how esports fans find their teams, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, the sort of
breakdown.
the fandom angle, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is always something that has been a conundrum to me, which is like, despite the fact that I am an esports fan at this point, but it's like, how do you pick a team,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because in esports, we have no geographical allegiance. Our parents we didn't come from an Optic family, you know what I mean? And for me, at least, and this may be true for a lot of other people, like my friends don't know shit about esports. Like they don't really watch or care. So it's not like I can be like, yeah, we all like Cloud9, right? So how does one engage with the team? Now that might change a little bit with Riot and Blizzard doing the whole geolocated league thing, but for now we're still in that stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of Dota's problems too, is because you can't like teams because it's so fluid. You have to like players, and then how do you get a return when the community is only interested in eternal envy? How do you invest into that? So having these teams that come from different scenes that lock people in hard contracts, the big C word that players don't like in Dota 2, to make them dedicated to something, is probably the way that you're going to be able to build up that fundamental fan base that Dota's always lacked. The only team that's ever been able to circumvent that are Secret and Na'Vi, and that's only because Puppy and Dendi will not leave those teams. That's the only solid roster. Everybody else, teams like EG, NA's Pride, Peter could go, Sumail could go, Arteezy could go. We never know.
Yeah.
So it's harder for that.
Yeah, I'd argue Fly and No Tail, part of OG, are kind of in that category, but
Sure.
they still haven't taken the TI title, so I don't know.
So it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No TI doesn't matter.
OG really is a special case, though, because people love them, but then one of their players will leave, and it's almost like it's a completely new team. They play so much around their 5 play style. So literally, when they lose one person, it's like they lose a fan base. Even if it's someone like Ana, who wasn't the most popular person, it's just they lost a lot of people. It was super weird. But that's Dota. Teams are weird because nobody signs contracts. So
I'm actually really interested in how Optic does in Dota, I would say, because, for me, like those fans in Optic, but also Envious is another good example, and FaZe, their fan bases are like so dedicated. Dedicated. They built them up through YouTube in a lot of cases, but also through other games, Call of Duty, that they have these fans from perhaps a younger age in some ways. And I am really excited to see if that can bring that change to Dota 2, because, I'm actually more of like a FaZe Clan guy. But I think it's awesome. Like, when I'm trying to follow Dota, I think one of the first things I learned about it when I first started working here was it's all about the players.
Yeah.
It's all about the players. It doesn't matter what this team's called. Every once in a while, somebody resurrects a team named like No Diggity or whatever. But like, ultimately, it's about the players. And can that change at all? I don't know. Like, it kind of seemed like maybe you were optimistic that it's possible, Slacks, but I don't even know. Like, I don't even know if Optic can do it.
If Optic just wins, that's all it takes. We're Dota players. We care about how high your MMR is despite how good you are. No one cares. It's sort of a kill-death ratio. If Optic just wins, they can change the scene for the better so much. I'm really crossing my fingers that Optic and Immortals can just be a super good team, because the ramifications of that and people seeing that can change so much. I don't want to toot my own horn. I hate talking about myself. But before I joined the scene in Dota, I mean, interviews and content were very, very minimal. And the only people that were popular as players were people like Dendy and stuff like that would actively go out to build a fan base. I mean, I don't know what the hell is wrong with pro players in Dota, but back in the day, they didn't want to do anything. They didn't want to talk to anybody, do any interviews, nothing.
That's still the case. I think that's still the case, honestly.
Yeah, it's getting better, though. I mean, now teams will approach and be like, hey, we want to film something at the major with you. Teams will say, we want to do an interview. We got these guys. And it's not pulling hairs anymore. And that's because people are finally in esports starting to realize that to make a fan base, to make a dedicated people that want to see you at events, literally sometimes get you at events. Look at Na'Vi. I mean, for 2 years, they've been kind of in the Garbo tier. They're looking a lot better now, but people still invited them because they still had fans. If Optic can bring that into Dota and bring people to care about the orgs rather than the players, things will be so much better. Not for the players, though. They get fucked.
Oh, my God. Well, they've been taking like 99% of the pie already, so I mean, they've got to come in.
It's true.
Yeah, let's go.
It's true. You sound very optimistic about their.
Hey!
Okay. That's the other thing I do: make bad puns, references, and puns.
Sure.
Slacks. This is another pivot. This is a 180 pivot here. It's another specialty of mine. We talk on this show a lot to specifically personalities in the world of CS:GO, and one thing that we hear a lot from them is the oversaturation of events. Because in CS, unlike Dota up until now, perhaps, there's just a shitload of events. It's every weekend there's a tournament where someone who matters is invited. You got to cover it. You got to be on. You got to be doing videos. You got to be doing commentary. You got to tweet about it. La 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 la. And we just so constantly hear this same thread of like, it's stressful. I'm burnt out. I almost quit. I quit. I'm not casting with my partner anymore. And I think to myself, with this new Dota system, do you think that is a worry?
Oh, of course. It's a worry for the players. It's a worry for the orgs who are scrambling to get any kind of money that they can. It's a worry for any viable sponsor. But whole different animal, though. Again, I don't want to be a dick, but CS is the same exact game every time you watch it. Dude pushes it A and shoots a chicken. I don't know. The guns are the same. Everything's the same. The strategies can slightly change. It's about that Twitch reaction shit. Dota is its own animal. Every single game of Dota is different. And after every patch, it takes months to figure out what's the optimal strategy. Dota only gets boring in periods like right now, where we haven't had a substantial patch in 5 months. But it's still interesting. You'll see heroes that have never been picked in the last 3 months that have been untouched be first banned, first pick. It's just so unique, and there's so many different ways to play it that it's much less of a problem when it comes to the gameplay. And that's what matters most in the Dota sphere, and that's why it can survive these periods of like hyper tournament events happening out at the same time, because it changes, luckily, because it's such a diverse and genius game. CSGO doesn't have that, It's going to be D-Dust with AKs or whatever every single time. I don't watch that shit. But again,
you're not wrong.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like for talent and stuff like that, I don't think I hear a lot of that coming out from Dota. Talent doesn't typically get too bored. They might get bored of the patch, if it's too long, but every single time there's something unique to watch. So when it comes to players, though, they're, again, the ones that suffer from the system, and not the good players, not the ones that we shouldn't care about, because F the good players, they're millionaires. The guys like the tier 3 teams, the tier 2 teams, those are the guys that are getting absolutely destroyed in this system and are getting super burnt out. So, I don't know. It's complicated, but that's why I think it's going to change. So this is it's the gold rush year, but it's also the burnout year, you know? So we'll see. Got to be smart, though. And I don't blame those poor CSGO casters. How many times can you say man shoot man in interesting ways? So,
Oh, man.
Wow, savage.
The fire. The heat. The heat.
I'm sorry, guys.
God,
I'm jet lagged. It's really early. I don't mean to throw this flame around. I know CSGO is very known for not flaming each other and being very courteous, so I apologize.
Oh my God.
They're very civil in that community.
Very civil,
Very
guys.
civil.
you know.
Jesus Christ.
remember though. Remember, gun don't shoot man, man shoot man.
Oh, yeah.
Is
there you go.
that from Blade Runner also, or?
Can confirm
Jesus.
is not.
Okay. Maybe the new one. Maybe the new one. Have you seen
No,
it?
I've seen the new one.
Okay, fine.
Do you want my review?
No.
Not now.
Okay.
Definitely not now.
Slacks, do
Anytime
you
but
want
now.
my review?
Yeah, I haven't
Oh
watched it.
God.
No,
Okay, fine.
No spoilerino, please.
No spoilerino. Great science fiction movie, not worthy of the title Blade Runner. I'm done on that one.
Oh,
Nice.
Did you watch it a second time then?
No, I'm waiting to. I really need to watch it a second time. I really do. Yeah, it's true. I do.
So you're just
Wow.
issuing like your verdict now without, even though earlier you said you had to watch it a second time. You're
And
just
I'm still sticking with that. I'm not done. It's just I have to make a decision based on the data that's available to me. And right now that's a one viewing. After a second viewing, I may have a different different conclusion.
Okay, since you're so hot on Blade Runner, I'm issuing a challenge right now. What Dota 2 hero
What?
would Harrison Ford play? Go.
Omni Knight.
I was gonna say Omni Knight, but only
Why
only 'cause-
Omni Knight? Why Omni Knight though, Slacks?
Because he's a grizzled, angry veteran who don't give a hoot about nobody, but he's also lovable at heart. You know, that's the thing. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe we're gone for too long.
We've gone down such a hole now.
Holy shit.
May I do a movie review on my plane ride?
Yes.
Yes, go.
Yes.
The wonder of my screen was broken, and the only movie it would let me watch was Starship Troopers 4 or 5.
Oh my God.
Over and over again. On the third viewing, it only gets better. All right, I love it.
Wow.
Starship Troopers 5, bro. Animated just like the Final Fantasy movie and with half the plot. Great time. Get him, Rico.
Rico's still in it? Holy shit.
God, that movie's so bad, guys.
I actually didn't know there was any after the first one.
No, there was. I knew a second one existed,
Yeah.
and it was really bad.
It was like
And
Skinamax, basically.
yeah, it was really bad, and I thought there's no way they would make another one, but I guess they made 3.
4.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, no, this is 4. All
this
right,
is
let's
4.
not forget Starship Troopers Marauder. All right, let's not forget that wonderful piece.
I don't remember it. I don't know if I saw it and I blacked it
No
out.
one does.
Okay.
No one watched it. All right. Anyway, yeah. So, any other stuff going on, guys? I'm having a great time. I don't know what these damn shows
We're
are,
just
but
we're just
this
getting
is great.
started.
You can tell that we all went to get coffee together and it's collectively kicking in now. So
Hell yeah! Let's go. I would like to ask you guys a question, by the way.
Oh, no.
I feel like one of my biggest faults is that I am too busy and invested in Dota to pay attention to other esports,
okay.
quite honestly. I hear stuff from Reddit, and then I'll go visit, and I'll read the scandals and the drama, but that's about as far as I get. So I was wondering about your guys' interpretation of what the Dota sphere does it have a positive, a negative? Like when you guys think of Dota, both in community and in like the practical esports sense, what is what you hear mostly from other communities? Do they all hate us? Do they think we're all right? Talk to me.
Can I go first?
Sure.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
I feel like I'm the least endemic to Dota.
Yeah.
So the sense that I always got from other people, from other esports, is that there's nothing wrong or like negative about Dota people, but what I always get, and I think you even mentioned this earlier, Slacks, is just like Dota people have only one thing on their mind ever, and it's Dota. I've heard like, you know, at Summit, for example, it's like, oh yeah, the Smash guys get wasted and fall down the stairs, and like the CSGO guys are just out of control, and it's just like, what do the Dota guys do? Well, after they win, they go play Dota. And it's I get this, and hearing that, I can't lie. I think to myself, like, do these people have personalities? Like, who are they? I'm being real. I'm being 100% real.
Yeah.
My true knee jerk reaction is like, what kind of people are these? Like, what if I talk to them? What are they like? You know, and I know, Dennis, you've interviewed plenty of Dota pros in your time.
Yeah, and the thing is, it like, to your credit, Jake, I think it is getting better, but like, oh man, is it like pulling teeth trying to talk to Dota players? Like,
oh yeah.
Like, even if you get them like cornered in a room, like they will not say anything to you, let alone like trying to like coordinate with like managers or like team owners or anything like that. Like, they just don't want to talk or do anything. And to their credit, this isn't necessarily something they do on purpose, but like that kind of increases the kind of, like, I guess, air of mystery around them. Like, people want to know what Arteezy's thinking, just because like for him, like in his not only in his career but in his life, it's like kind of very formative, like where he's the hashtag new Arteezy, where he was like kind of trolly and like BM before, but now he's like kind of changed. I don't know, like I want to know what the philosophy of a Dota player is like. And again, to the same credit, Kuroki, like, he's such an interesting character from the outset, but like we almost know nothing about him, and this is true for a lot of players.
And that's so interesting too, because I've seen that other times too. I went to a event called the Beat Invitational, and they had Gears of War players. Again, I'm a console guy. I came from consoles until 10 years ago when the Orange Box came out, and I love Gears of War. Xbox Live was my jam. Like, just talking shit to kids over the voice was amazing.
Yeah.
And it's like their pro players are so animated. Everybody. Like, during the games, they're screaming, they're yelling. The audience is like, yeah, they're getting up from their chairs and like getting in each other's face. It's so much fun. The Smash guys are the same, you know? I mean, they're just like so appreciative of what they have. They're so fun and then energetic and want to do interviews. And then you got the Dota boys that are just like, man. Yeah. But at the same time, it is that kind of air of mysteries too. And then, I don't know. That's interesting. That's interesting to hear that confirmation come from guys that aren't in the scene.
As for me, Slacks, I pretty much from the outset learned that Dota is about roster changes, because I pretty much had to write about roster changes constantly, and so the shuffle, I'm very familiar with the shuffle. As for how it's perceived in other communities, I feel like the B movie copy pasta is really good, in that, you know, according to all known laws of aviation, there's no way a bee should be able to fly. And the way I look at Dota is, according to all known laws of esports, there's no way Dota should be able to happen. But it does anyway, because Dota doesn't care what humans think, etc. And for me, it's like really that way. Like, I just don't... Coming into esports, everything else made sense. Dota was an enigma to me. And in terms of perception from other fandoms, I would say that anytime I see a Dota... Like, here's a great example. I was a member of the Heroes of the Storm community for a long time. Anytime somebody from Dota was like, hey, I played Dota, just play my first game of HOTS, that thread was a mess. Yeah. Because it was the Dota guy being like, it's dumb, you can't buy items. And then the Heroes people being like, we love this game. And then more Dota people being like, yeah, Dota's the best game. And it's just, it's horrible. So that's my perception of Dota, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I agree with you. I mean, Dota has a strange problem of a massive superiority complex, and I think that's because of the bar of entry is so high.
Yeah.
A lot of guys that start Dota, there's just the tutorial is just god awful. No, you so know terrible. Nothing.
I have played that tutorial.
I think it's still broken, actually.
It's the worst. But to get to a level of adequateness, you have to put in so much time and effort, and then you build up this like, I'm something. I've done something, and I'm better than anyone else who hasn't done that. And it's, while it makes rabid fan bases that will give millions of dollars to TI, it also has this weird thing where everyone's kind of a prick about it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, guys like, CSGO, it's very easy. You get into a game, take gun, shoot man. That's the tutorial. I mean, that's it. And you can get better at that. So, I guess that's one of the biggest problems of not only the quote-unquote decline of Dota, where it's not getting a lot more fans, but it's also like the attitude in general. And that attitude, I think, needs to change if it's ever going to be on the rivalry of like League of Legends. Because people always say Dota's better than League. Not true, dude. League has the numbers. League has everything better. And we might have more dedicated fans, and we might have more like bigger prize pools. But when you just get down to it, League is a much more successful game, and just from like metrics of new players coming in and retaining audience. So, I don't know. How do you fix that though? How do you make a bunch of egotistical people that have put in so much pain and effort? How do you make them not like that? I don't know.
What if you put in a coaching system where players could coach new players? Oh shit, they already put that in.
Right. And nobody wants to do it. It's stupid. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I actually tried to get coaching. I was trying to learn Dota 2 right when the beta happened, and I came back to it after a while, and I was like, oh, coaching or whatever.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find anybody to coach me. And I remember one time someone did, and he was an asshole. And I was like, I don't want to play this game.
You know what's funny?
You're garbage.
It's funny, Josh. You say you got into it right after the beta. So I tried to play Dota this summer. Okay,
Wow.
2017.
Nice.
I did the tutorials. They were shit. They were just like I hated every second of it, but I had to do it.
Yeah.
And then I played a couple games, and I was just like, I kind of suck. I'm dying. The builds are like kind of complicated, and I stopped. Whereas when I played CS, there's no tutorial. I loaded into a game. I got wrecked 16 rounds in a row, right? And what did I want to do? Oh man, I want to play again. Oh my god, I can get that guy next time.
Yeah.
I can do this. You know.
I think it's because you can see yourself improving in CS.
Right.
Yes.
Which is, I think, what you said, Slacks. Like, you have to get better at aiming. You have to learn the map or whatever. But once you do that, you can see yourself in a world where you are decent at Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
But I can't envision myself in a world where I'm good at Dota 2. Like, I just can't. That world doesn't exist. Or if it does, something went horribly wrong with my life. So I don't know.
I mean, another reason why PUBG is so successful, and possibly a hard game when you first start playing it, but it gives you these tiny moments of success.
Yeah.
Whereas Dota never does. You basically have to be a Dark Souls player to play Dota. You have to love punishment and be like, screw this game. I'm going to get great at this game. I don't give a hoot. And, I mean, that's one of its main problems. Although, boys, I think it's going to get fixed soon. I think Valve have an idea.
Little birdie.
What?
Oh really?
Well, they have this new, for the first time ever, they're paying people to come up with alternate game modes. They're doing a new Dire Tide game mode, and they said $30,000 to the person that's a new, fun minigame. That's how you do it. I joined Dota 2 from the original Dire Tide. I had no idea what Dota was, but it was a fun little minigame that taught me stuff about the bigger game in a non-stressful situation. That's how you do it, is you don't put people in games where they flame each other. You give them these small, tiny increments. So they're working on it, but really it's Artifact that's going to save it. I mean, just what a great game.
Oh my fuck.
Yeah, we actually skipped over Artifact completely, Slack. So why don't you give us your opinion
right
on
before
the
right before he does get into
Yeah,
Artifact?
sorry.
Sorry.
My bad.
I actually do want to, as a TCG player, I do actually want to hear his opinion on
Okay,
it.
okay.
But he just, I can't believe I forgot about this when I was telling my Dota horror story experience. You know what, Slacks? The most fun I had in Dota, actually the only fun I had in Dota, and the only time I would play today, if Dennis turned around and said, "Do you want to play?" is Overthrow.
Hey.
That's what
Overthrow, right?
Yeah.
It's perfect. Exactly. Overthrow is so much fun for new players. It's amazing.
No, it's
Anyways, on to Artifact.
Thanks,
No, man.
thanks for interrupting my Artifact
Sorry, man,
flow
sorry.
for that. That was very, add a lot to the conversation. So
Everybody wants
did.
to get into TCGs. I'm a Magic player. I begrudgingly play the shit out of Hearthstone now. I play way too much Hearthstone, right?
Oh, hey, my hands in the shop.
And everybody wants a piece of this pie, and the pie, frankly, doesn't seem very big or very good. I'm not sure why they want a piece of it.
disagree.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
I think the pie, if you want to make money,
Yeah.
the pie's great. Pie's a delicious pie.
Okay.
If you want to
yeah.
make money.
Right.
If you want to build an esport, I think you should instead exit completely out of pie, move towards cake or something else.
Yeah.
Entirely. Maybe a delicious candy assortment. I don't know, but you have to do something else because I think Artifact could be a great game. I actually know nothing about it. But if, Gaben is behind it, all praises be to the Lord Gaben. But look at Hearthstone. They're having esports issues right now, quite frankly.
Well, we have the perfect guest for that. Last I checked, Jake, you were the only person on Twitter that the account followed. So why don't you give your take on it?
That's because I will be on the right side of history, okay? Artifact is going to be dank. I'm super into it, and I am not paid to say this. Originally, I got super invested into Artifact because of lore stuff. I'm a big fan of one of the writers who, if you guys know, Valve writers are very rare sights. They're practically Yetis right now. And I've always been a huge story guy and lore guy, and love this guy who used to work on Saints Row and thought he was amazing, and that he got brought into Artifact stuff. So, the fact that Artifact is going to expand on the Dota 2 lore is incredible to me, and that's what got me interested. And the more I thought about it, though, the more I think it will be the saving grace for Dota 2. Let me go ahead and present you guys with a logical conundrum, okay? Here's my conundrum. I'm going to give you an esport. I'm going to give you a video game. It's going to have one of the biggest fan bases in the world. However, it won't care about anything but itself. You'll never be able to sell anything. They won't care about anything else. In your company, you will only be able to have this one game. You'll never be able to have any other games because that community never goes anywhere else. They love your product too much. What do you do? Especially when you've basically got every single person in the world to already play that game. The trick is you make a new game that is the old game. You see, that's what Artifact is. They're taking the Dota 2 player base, which never plays any other game than Dota. If you look at the Dota 2 player base on stuff like Twitch, analytics, Dota fans only watch Dota. Now they play a little bit of PUBG, but they always come back, and it's this giant bubble. Everybody else, those numbers go around. League players play CS, play other stuff. Not Dota. So what do? You make a brand new game, but you make it about Dota. Then you find a way to transfer all those stubborn assholes to go play something else. And then you grow the community that way. It's the only way. It's genius. They're goddamn geniuses over there, dude.
to that
game about Dota. It's like,
to that point also, you don't have to bring the players to the game. You bring the game to the players. If it's playable in queues, and we know how long the queues can be, depending on your MMR. Sneak in an artifacting game in there, then you're golden. Oh shit! I just lost. Let me buy the card that the guy bodied me with, or something like that. Yeah.
And there won't be any issues in terms of the player base either, where League pros are playing Hearthstone in queue, and then they got told that they couldn't play Hearthstone; they could only play League on their streams.
Yeah.
Because it's the same company. What's up?
Hey.
No problems.
Exactly. I mean, it's like an opposite Gwent, right? They make a really great game, and then they have this side game. Now, people will go to Artifact because it's going to be an amazing card game, and then they'll get sucked into Dota. You see how that works? Because Dota's a horrifying game that no one wants to turn into.
Exactly, yeah.
But I really like Viper, and he's super cool in Artifact. Now I want to go play Viper in Dota. Oh, God, this game is killing me. But, hey. Work.
Well, you could get wound up with Dota 2. And you can wind down with some Artifact, right? No issues. I mean, in all fairness, there's a lot of opportunities here for Valve. We've seen Blizzard do this a little bit, where they have cross promotions, get this Overwatch skin if you play Here's the Storm, or you get this mount and Here's the Storm for playing Hearthstone or whatever. So, I mean, there are a lot of opportunities that would make me play Dota if I liked Artifact and they were like, listen, we're going to give you a card pack. If you win a ranked match, I'd be like, sign me up, let's do it. Sand King.
Yeah.
Sand King, let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. Look who we're talking to. We're coming full circle. Jake, you got into Dota because you wanted a TF2 hat from playing Dota.
True, exactly.
We're going to get the next slacks from Artifacts.
Oh, I hope so. I am so sick of making shit. Please replace Please replace me, someone.
Hey, speaking of hats, shout out to your glowing, light up MMR hat that you posted on Twitter because Dennis was watching that on Luke yesterday and dying.
Shit. Oh my god. Holy shit, this is awesome. Yeah. I want that hat.
Man.
Slacks, we probably should go back to our other jobs here at theScore eSports. Although I am a supervisor, so I guess I could just tell these guys to stay in and podcast for 8 hours straight. But it has been a real pleasure talking to you. I am actually quite apprehensive at cutting it right now. But before we do, I wanted to know if there's anything more you wanted to say that we didn't get to touch on, or any sort of like just, I don't know, parting message you want to give to the listeners out there.
Sure. Thank you guys so much for having me. I think that your work has done a lot in legitimizing something that not a lot of people think is legitimate in a big scene. So shout out to theScore eSports. Thank you for writing articles still, where many have given up doing that. Can I do a plug?
Yes.
Yes.
Please do.
I never plug, and this is my first plug ever. Ladies and gentlemen, watch Midas Mode. It's coming in November 17th. It's a tournament I created. I got top teams. It's getting funded, and it's going to be great. So look it up online. There's my first ever plug.
It's pretty good.
That's awesome.
Everyone.
Plug
Thank
and a
you.
pug.
Oh.
Next year it's going to be a major confirmed. There you go.
Josh,
We'll see.
you can't cut the camera.
No,
right
I'm
now.
not. I'm not. The camera is stuck on the pug.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Oh my
This-
god.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Aw.
All right. Thanks you guys so much for having me, though. It was a real pleasure and a lot of fun. I'd love to come again.
We would love to have you again. Thank you so much for making time.
See you later, guys.
See ya.
The only reason we're
Oh,
hanging
look
up
at the
is
dog.
because
Oh my god.
the only
Put
reason we're
back on the
hanging up is
dog.
because the dog went away. Like legit. Like if the dog stayed, I would have been like, Josh. Oh, there he is.
Yeah. The audio
Don't
is
hang up.
off. The
Don't hang up. He's so
Oh,
just
so cute.
aw.
I have his audio off, so I have to cut away. It's
All
too
right.
cute. We're overloaded.
We're overloading.
Overloaded.
Bye, Slacks.
Bye. Can we
My God.
like pretend there was like an error and it's like, oh shit, all we got was like Slacks' dog. This is the only podcast. Just have it loop for like an hour or something like that. Yeah.
Can we make a GIF out of that?
Oh yeah.
I'm not even kidding. Can
No,
we, can
yeah.
we GIF the
Miles, you're on it.
Miles?
Just summon him from this
Miles.
recorded podcast.
No, it's
GIF.
not only does no one listening know who Miles is, I thought of the barista at our local coffee shop named Miles. when you
Jesus
said
Christ.
that.
Shout out to Miles.
Shout out to Miles. Hello, loves. How are you? This is a podcast. We're finishing up right now. That was a real fun time. I went into Australian there. I was pulling a sponge.
I guess that's my cue to run the outro music.
I think it is. That was great. That was really fun. I want to get Slacks on again.
I think that might be the most fun I've ever had on this podcast, and I don't even play Dota 2, so
I know, right? I know.
Wait, is that like a sign that Dota 2 is like gonna die now that we've had fun with it? Or
Yeah, it might.
what?
Well,
'Cause we're
because
having
Slacks' whole theory was like something.
Well, I'm
if-
not having fun playing the game, so it's good.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm extrapolating it to the extreme where if something is fun, it's bad, and if it's not fun, it's good. That's appropriate, right?
it's Fade to Black.
Okay.
Okay.
Fade to black.
Okay.
Should I leave you with a Blade Runner quote?
No.
Is there a good one?
They're all good. Oh, Chew. If only you could see what I've seen with
So
your
you're-
eyes.
So you're not gonna say who we are and we can end the podcast?
This podcast will be lost in time.
Can we just have a clip of
Like
the
tears.
unicorn
in
unicorn dream?
rain.
Okay. Well, for
Just
the
the
Score
unicorn thing.
Esports, I am Josh Burry.
Go on. Go on.
I was hoping you would chime in, but anyways, yeah. So I am Josh Burry. This is Colin McNeil on the camera right now, doing things. Also, Dennis Gonzalez, CS:GO Dota extraordinaire. He knows it.
Say more.
You know he knows it. And again, back to me again, Josh Burry, for the Score Esports podcast. This is us signing off. We're not going to go see Blade Runner again. Farewell.
GG.
That's terrible.
What my